I am from a very proud town in Enugu State. A land of warriors, I tell you. I'm from Achi, Inoji River local government area of Enugu State. My people love themselves so much, and they take no prisoners. There's a popular saying in my area, Mbe eri Achi, and that simply means that we can't be consumed by foreigners. No other group will tell you the story of our strength and resilience like the West Africa Frontier Force. In 1906, the white men showed up in my town. We chased them back. No mean feat. In 1918, they came back. This time around, very well prepared. It was a war that would drag on for 4 years. How was that possible? How was it even remotely possible that my forefathers, with their Dane guns and machetes, could hold off the white man for 4 years? We had a war strategy called Ogaga Agwawu, which simply means that this movement never ends. There are 12 communities in my town. In the war with the white man, we made sure that each community goes to fight the white man. When they get tired, the second community comes. And so, somehow, these white folks couldn't figure out how this community doesn't get tired. So we fight them from morning till night, and the next day, and the next day, because the 12 communities came together and designed this ingenious Ogaga Wagu strategy. It was a war that taught us something, even though we lost after 4 years. That when we bind together as a people, when we come together as a community, there is nothing we cannot defeat. The principle of Onyaga na Nwannia, nobody should be left behind, kept my people together and reminded us that the sum of all of us is much, much bigger than anything anybody can envision or imagine. And so, the white man did win the battle. We won the war. Because I'm sure wherever they are today, they will still remember that small community that gave them hell in the beginning of the 19th century. It's just very clear that in a world of individualism, in a world where we are learning to be just by ourselves, every time we stretch out our hand to support somebody, to hold somebody, we are holding ourselves and we are getting stronger together. My father was born when his own father had already died. He wasn't there to see the birth of my father. And few years after my father was born, my grandmother also died. Muriwako, my father's stepmother, took him and treated him like her own. He had nothing, but he was extremely brilliant. My uncles noticed that this guy had something extra. And for more than 10 years in his life, they relinquished their stake in the cash crop in my family and used every bit of it to train my father in school. They didn't have to do that. But they realized and they understood more than ever that in Igbo land, when you bury yourself, one of your hands will be sticking out. That's what we believe in. We can only do it together. And the generosity of these, my two uncles, turned a poor orphan into a teacher, turned him into a supervisor of schools, and turned him into a king before he died. And his own life has affected hundreds of others. That singular act of community, in the 40s, has given more than 100 kids in my village education for free. Whenever we come together as a community, something gives. We live in a world where we don't know our neighbors. I can tell you for sure, where I live in Abuja, In that long street, I only know one family. We live in a world where we're scared to have our kids go play in the next compound. Because we've lost the sense of who we are. We've lost the sense of community. And we're making it incredibly difficult for ourselves to survive in a changing world, in a wicked world, and in a very, very difficult environment. People are hungry when we throw away food in the next compound. Kids go to school, they're scared of being molested. People who are in a position of authority are exploiting the young girls under their care. Everywhere you look is a culture of exploitation, a culture of selfishness. And things are hard. People are going through difficult times. People are going through depression because they feel alone in a world where they live with many. In a time when we're all interconnected by technology, we've never been this lonely. And because we are not together, we are not able to confront the challenges we are facing. My community in the early part of the 20th century understood the power of community. Understood the power of community in making sure that everybody is taken care of. My father is a beneficiary of community. I am standing here before you today because I am also a beneficiary of community. I've been blessed with 3 lovely girls. In 2016, my father, bless his soul, went to join the ancestors. He's been married to my mother for 52 years. And that year, every last Sunday of August, we come home to celebrate my father's and my mother's wedding anniversary. In 2016, my mother was going to celebrate that event alone for the first time in 53 years. When she lost the love of her life, she had a stroke and barely survived. We never knew she was going to survive. And so we all came home to support her, to let her know that she's still loved even though her husband is no more there. We had an exciting event. We went for mass. We had a lot of meals. The kids went to play in the swimming pool. It was fun. Sometime in the evening, we couldn't find my daughter, Natasha. We felt, oh, she must be somewhere. So we went looking. The fun of the evening was shattered by a cry. A scream I will never forget from my wife. And she said, your daughter is in the pool. And when I rushed to that pool, my little girl was lifeless. I held her, I screamed her name, and I begged God at that moment to take my life and spare hers. We lost her. At that moment, my life practically stopped. The future was no more. How I managed to bring my family back to Abuja, I will never know. But I knew a part of me died with her that day. Waking up in the morning was difficult. Going to work was impossible. Smiling was a luxury I could not afford. Loneliness was my constant companion because in the midst of people, I felt so alone. I wished for death. It refused to come. And when I look at my daughter and my wife and see the pain they were going through, everything in me was in pain. Every time it was difficult for us to wake up in the morning, the love of the people around us woke us up. Every time it was difficult to take a step, the love, the hands that were stretched out to us from all over the world kept us up. My community, people, friends, relations taught me something, that you can never be alone if you have hands stretched out to you. And we embrace those hands. We embrace that love. It made me wonder the kind of love my daughter would have enjoyed in this world if she was here. It made me remember that the proud history of my community, of my town, the proud story of my parents has come alive in my own life. Because love, community, concern, made it possible for me to take another step. It was a long journey of recovery. But every day that I was down, somebody pulled me up. Every day that I tried to cry, somebody wiped those tears. And even in my silence, people still heard me. I come away from this experience understanding that the only reason we're in this world is that we are here for other people. The purpose of life is not just about what you do for yourself. It's about what you do for others. And every time you open up your hands, somebody gets to hold it. And when they do, they are stronger than they were before they held your hands. And when they hold your hands, you're even stronger than you were before. And I can tell you today that all the challenges facing us as a people, all the pain we go through as individuals, all the uncertainty that confront us in today's world that we live in, the uncertainty, the fear, everything, together, holding ourselves, binding together, we can walk past every hurdle. We can jump past every hoop. And as we open that hands to receive and to give, we will realize that with community, everything is possible. No darkness is incapable of getting some light. Thank you.